Well, howdy there, Grand Rapids. You know, there's only 49 days left to go till Election Day. And early voting is about to begin very soon. And you have a very, very competitive district. In the newly drawn Michigan 3. And you have two very distinct choices in this district running to be your representative. And I want to make that clear. They're running to be your representative. You have Hillary Scholten, who's running as a Democrat, and John Gibbs, who's running as a Republican. Now, I'm supporting Hillary Scholten because not only do I think that John Gibbs has disqualified himself from being your representative in Michigan 3, I think he's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, to say the least. I'll tell you why. This guy has said some really insane things. And he's trying to gloss over this by not speaking to it, by not answering questions from the constituents about some of his rhetoric. What do I mean? He stated on multiple occasions online using his Twitter, so he can't say that he was hacked. This came from his official Twitter account. He's made a conspiracy claim that former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, her 2016 campaign manager, was involved in some kind of demonic rituals in pizza parlors. This is the claim that he's made numerous times on his Twitter account. That this campaign manager sacrificed little children in a pizza parlor. Now, some of you are not familiar with this conspiracy theory, but it's QAnon. So John Gibbs is a QAnon believer, a believer in fringe conspiracy theories. Then, John Gibbs went on to share posts from an individual who was banned off of social media for posting some pretty vile anti-Semitic posts. John Gibbs thought that this individual should be reshared on his own Twitter account and reshared his posts. Not to mention, he's a proponent of the big lie that the election in 2020 was stolen from the lunatic from Mar-a-Lago. Now, I was listening to the Woods TV 8 debate that the Republican Party had between Peter Majere and John Gibbs. And they asked him about whether he believed the election was stolen in 2020. And he said yes. But then he gave some very odd reasons why he believed it. He said there were some anomalies. I'm using his exact terminology. He did go to Harvard, So I would imagine this individual is well versed in the English language. He said there were some analogies. And the anomalies, he gave two examples. He said Donald Trump won all the key bellwether swing districts in the country. And usually when you win all the bellwether swing counties and districts, you win the presidency. Now first, that's inaccurate. Donald Trump did not win all the bellwether counties and districts in this country. Maricopa County, where you had cyber ninjas, remember the far-right, conservative, supposedly cyber forensics experts? They went down there and had a whole clown show where they did a recount of all the ballots in Maricopa County. And what did they find? Oh, President Joe Biden won the county. And they actually found a few more votes for President Biden. So, John, I'm not sure where you get your information or your data from. You used to be like a software engineer, according to your information on the internet. But you really should know that Cyber Ninja did a whole clown show down there for weeks on end in Maricopa County. And they confirmed that President Biden won Maricopa County. Now, Maricopa County is a bellwether county in Arizona. So right there, that's wrong. Now, also, I want to take issue with what John Gibbs in his mind considers to be a bellwether county. Because there were quite a few counties that Joe Biden actually won that are bellwether counties. But maybe they're not considered bellwether counties in John Gibbs' mind. And then the second anomaly that he gave as a reason why he thought the election in 2020 was stolen was that usually presidents, when they run for re-election, get more votes. And if they get more votes than the first time, they often win. Well, in recent modern history, with the exception of former President Jimmy Carter, most presidents have won re-election. Also, George Herbert Walker Bush, he lost his re-election as well. So too, in recent modern history. I don't know whether that's true or not, because I didn't really look up the numbers. Nor do I care whether it's true or not, because he used the word anomaly. So let's look at the definition of what an anomaly is. An anomaly is something that deviates from the norm. When you say something was stolen, it means something was taken that didn't belong to you. He has no proof. In order to say something was stolen, you have to have legitimate, certifiable proof. An anomaly, something deviating from something that usually or generally happens, is not proof of fraud or stolen. You, sir, went to Harvard. You ought to know better. Right there, that disqualifies John Gibbs from being your congressman. But let me tell you why you should be happy that you have an alternative to somebody that batshit crazy in Hillary. Hillary Scholten is an accomplished woman with superb credentials. This woman has worked in the Department of Justice. She's worked in campaigns. She's worked in communities. And you know, oftentimes Republicans say that women, their number one job is to the family. Well, she's a mother, raising multiple children. So they can't claim that she's this far left feminist. Oh, but maybe they can. You know, I saw yesterday, John Gibbs' campaign is running a dirty attack against Hillary, saying that back in 2020, when there was damage done in Grand Rapids by people who might have been involved in Black Lives Matter, we don't know. Just because someone shows up to a protest doesn't mean that they're affiliated with Black Lives Matter. But nonetheless, John Gibbs ran a dirty lie and an attack on Hillary yesterday and said that she didn't condemn the property damage in Grand Rapids in 2020. Now, Grand Rapids, I want you to understand, this is what we call projection. And I'll explain why. Firstly, Hillary Scholten did condemn the property damage in Grand Rapids. I remember she said it. She said, look, I understand that people are frustrated concerning what happened to George Floyd. And I understand the need for protesting. But please be productive in how you protest. Don't use violence. She made that clear in her community in 2020. Maybe John Gibbs is projecting because, well, he's condoned January 6th, the insurrection, where that Capitol was attacked. So maybe he's projecting. Maybe he's trying to say, look here, my opponent is for violence. So therefore it's okay for me to, well, condone what happened on January 6th. You know, somebody who has not said anything about January 6th and the violence that ensued, even while he sat there at the Woods TV 8 debate, is John Gibbs. He pretty much poured more gasoline on the fire by saying, oh yeah, because there's anomalies, the election was stolen, so January 6th was justified then. This is a very dangerous and extremist individual who's trying to masquerade as some type of, well, conservative moderate. No. No, no, no. Moderate people don't share or vow anti-Semitic individuals on their social media. Moderate people don't accuse people who they don't know of sacrificing children and drinking their blood. Moderate people don't allege that elections are stolen without a shred of proof. John Gibbs is an extremist whackpot. In Michigan 3, Grand Rapids, you got to make sure that he does not get elected at all costs. Look, his claim to fame is that he worked for the lunatic from Mar-a-Lago. And by work, I mean, well, he was in his administration as acting Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Really, he was a low-level staffer that you never saw in the White House for 4 years, who's trying to ride the coattails of the biggest criminal in American history, the lunatic from Mar-a-Lago. And I don't think it's gonna work. Look, the people of Muskegon, Grand Rapids, and the district at large, most of them are moderate. Some people are conservative. Some people are a little liberal. But what they're not is extremists. And John Gibbs, behind all the fancy words, is a real extremist nightmare. Literally, minutes after an activist and rogue Supreme Court stripped women of a right that they've had for 50 years in this country, John Gibbs went on his social media and celebrated and said that he's 100% pro-life in all circumstances. So, if for whatever chance your doctor tells you if you keep this child, you run the risk of dying in childbirth, John Gibbs would be for the woman dying in childbirth to have the child. That really sounds pro-life to me. But remember, he said he's 100% pro-life in all circumstances. And then he went on to say something very disgusting. He said, you know, there's a lot of good children that's grown up to be productive people, and they're children of rape. While that statement is true, what he does not say is that it was those women's choices to have that child. It had nothing to do with the perpetrator of rape. So trying to mandate and force a woman to have a child that she does not want due to rape and incest is just disgusting and despicable. But it's no surprise it's coming from John Gibbs, who I think is batshit crazy. I'm sorry, I do. When you make the kind of salacious statements, outlandish conspiracy theories that you share widely, I don't think the elevator goes all the way up to the top. He said the reversal of Roe is the greatest news for women in history. Now my first thought was, what would John Gibbs know about what great news is for women, seeing as he doesn't listen to women? Because the vast majority of women, time and time again in this country, have made it known that they support Roe. The vast majority of American citizens have made it known time and time again that they support Roe. Now, you're going to have men like John Gibbs tell women like Hillary Scholten what is and is not good for their bodies. You cannot make this shit up. You just can't make it up. It's unfathomable. It's unbelievable. Then I checked and I was like, wait a minute. He's been a missionary and a software engineer. So he knows nothing about biology. He's not an OBGYN doctor. And yet, he has qualified himself to talk about what is great news for a woman and her uterus. They tried to do this in South Carolina, and you saw that state Senate Republican woman stand up to her own state Senate majority leader and tell him to get out of my uterus. And he kept trying to be condescending towards her. Oh, you didn't show up. You didn't do this. You don't know what's in the Constitution. This is what the Republican Party has evolved into. The party of limited government as they build themselves. This is how they build themselves. I don't think they're about limited government. But this is how they projected themselves. This is the narrative that they created. Now ask yourself, does a limited government party really want to play OBGYN for millions of women all across America? Does a limited government party want to tell you, because of your gender identity, that you can't play on sports teams in public schools? Does a limited government party want to tell you who you can and cannot divorce? Does a limited government party want to tell you who you can and cannot marry? I think they want to limit us. But I don't think they want to limit government interference with us. I think they want to limit what we can do, our freedoms. And they're saying that they're for limited government. I think they're for more intrusive government, intruding on our privacy. And I don't think we're going to go for it. Certainly not in Michigan 3. Grand Rapids. You have a superb and highly qualified woman who's vibrant, projects positivity, and will get things done. And you know, one thing that I said when I was in Akron endorsing Amelia Skies is also true of Hillary Scholten. She listens actively to her constituents. John Gibb is not going to listen because he thinks he already hears women saying, we support the overturning of Roe. When all of these women, by the thousands and millions, have been donating, marching, shouting, stay out of my uterus. But John Gibbs hears cheers, where women are screaming and moaning and crying. So, comprehension skills are pretty bad for John Gibbs, I would say. He's misreading women quite a bit there. But it's no surprise, his former boss was the lunatic from Mar-a-Lago. And you know what he thinks about women. I think we all know. Grand Rapids. In 49 days, please choose wisely. Please choose sanity over insanity. Reality over lunacy. Competency over incompetency. Please choose someone who's highly qualified and ready to get the job done. Knows how to work with people and doesn't spread far fringe conspiracy theories without proof. Grand Rapids, I'm asking you to vote for Hillary Scholten in November on the 8th. If you can vote early, vote early. Take care of business. Because the alternative is something that I think all of us will come to regret. But I don't think that's going to happen. got this, Grand Rapids. Hillary Scholten from Michigan 3. Let's get it done.